Remakes. They're just about everywhere, aren't they? They exist to build upon something that, well, already exists, and builds them again from scratch in a different interpretation to make it stand out. Whether it's with movies or video games, some people can agree that sometimes remakes can be good, and in a few cases, necessary to update to get rid of some outdated or questionable elements, and even completely overshadow the originals, like The Thing, Scarface, Dead Space, or even Resident Evil 2 and 4. I mean, hell, I even like MGS The Twin Snakes, and screw you, it is solid. Like Snake. However, most of the time, it's unanimous that they're completely unnecessary and even sometimes retroactively ruin the original through affiliation alone.
You think you could turn back time?
What the hell is this?
Sometimes even being beyond pointless, like The Last of Us Part 1. And the biggest example is what I'm going to be talking about today. Let's talk about Snow White.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
Now, a brief history. The original Snow White was the first ever feature animated film that Disney had ever worked on, and it set the company in stone ever since with more iconic movies that released afterwards. Everything that Disney had ever done can be thanked to Snow White's existence, with Walt being determined to make the movie no matter what and managed to pull it off successfully, even during the Second World War.
Dwarfs' names fit their personalities. This pompous-looking individual is Doc, the self-appointed leader of the group. And this little fellow is bashful. He's secretly in love with Snow White. And this funny face is Sneezy. He has hay fever. And old droopy eyes is called Sleepy. And Happy here with the beaming smile. And old Sourpuss here is Grumpy, the woman hater. And last but not least is Dopey. He's nice, but sort of silly.
Now, imagine, if you will, almost a century later, the world is completely different than it was in the 1930s. Now Hollywood has remade a lot of the old movies purely just for profit and nostalgia baiting. And yet audiences almost always prefer their original counterparts each time. And then you get the Snow White remake that released worldwide.
Wait. It's a human.
What did you think I was?
Nothing. Ghost.
Old MacDonald had a farm.
It did everything wrong. Every single thing. The dwarves, the songs, the questionable casting, the cinematography, yeah, you get the idea. And before it even came out, the hate for it was just insane upon the first teaser. And it still is.
Wow, Disney, you are truly incredible. It took you 3 years, multiple rewrites, unnecessary CGI, and $209 million just for me to enjoy a comment section of a movie I will never watch. Bless you!
You get people calling Snow White's casting disrespectful and unfaithful, calling Gal Gadot's acting absolutely horrendous.
Kalel, no! I need you to give me the stone and enough champagne to fill the Nile.
Calling the dwarves to be the most horrible, ugly, heinous, nightmare-inducing, AI-generated looking CGI abominations ever put on the silver screen.
It's hideous.
Not a single thing of this movie was safe from criticism. Now, Disney remakes have always had a really bad reputation among the public since Maleficent, calling them inferior to the original counterparts and just blatant cash grabs. Yet back then, they always made so much money because the audiences back then were still gullible, and Disney had a lot of good faith from the general public, including children. Nowadays, in the post-pandemic and post-Endgame world, Disney have been struggling to keep up with the times and even numbers in some of their movies and shows, with a few exceptions like No Way Home, Guardians 3, Deadpool 3, and Inside Out 2. And so far with Snow White, as of this video's upload, it's not joining those movies at all. What was in the actual movie upon release? It's pure boredom. Just boredom.
Boring.
Even the roles of the dwarves themselves have been significantly cut down to give more screen time to Snow White, instead of the original movies when the dwarves and Snow screen times, even in importance to the story, were equal. And if you've been keeping up with social media a while ago, you may recall a picture on the set of the film with 7 unrelated people. Yeah, this picture alone just set the entire internet in a public outroar, because a lot of people were theorizing that these people were going to replace the dwarfs entirely in the remake. As a result, the film got heavily rewritten to actually include the dwarfs as the main characters alongside Snow White. And for the people that were in the set photo, well, they were reduced to just glorified extras. Yeah, if you watch the film, you can definitely tell that there were rewrites and reshoots. Even the ending where Snow White stood up to the evil queen made absolutely no sense.
Jorge, you used to be a barber. Michael, you're a type 1 diabetic. Tyrese and Gabe, you're both alcoholics. I know your names. I remember all your names. I remember. And I.
And what's this? An interview with the main actresses? Well, I don't think there's any harm in checking this out.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince.
Oh, well, that's interesting. She's not going to be saved by the prince at all. Well, what does the movie have? She gets poisoned by the apple, and the prince saves her by kissing her. My biggest gripe with this movie, however, is being at a disadvantage where it's not animated. In animation, you can exaggerate movements and characters, you can find the most fitting voices for each character, and you can time things to exact frames thanks to not being condemned by live filming. The live action stuff does not have that luxury whatsoever. Even when they attempted to recreate stuff from the original like the Whistle While You Work song, they look so awkward and slow because they try to capture that same feeling from the animated version. And they always fail as a result because they're live action and not animated, which you can chalk up to, honestly, all of Disney's live action remakes. And I have been thinking of this dilemma with remakes, but I've not been able to put them into words until this remake came out, and it made me realize remakes as a trend and as a concept are dead. There's just been plummeting interest in remakes year after year, but I think I've just about had it. This is the straw that broke the camel's back. I think Snow White might have killed the already declining interest in the remakes as a whole, because this is everything on what not to do with remaking existing media. I just think that I'm burnt out from remakes now, and this movie just proved me right. But now when I get interested in remakes, it usually be from the video games and not the movies. Like, for movies, remakes are just dead as a whole to me. But for video games, there is still some potential for them. For example, Okay, yeah, I know that some of you guys are going to feel so unsure and even defensive that the game is going to be completely ruined in the end. Well, let me tell you, I'm not. Not at all. I used to feel the same way when Resident Evil 4's remake was announced, but that game completely exceeded my expectations upon release. So if that game blew everyone away, then I have no doubt that MGS3's remake will too. So overall, movie remakes are just overdone at this point, and if there's a net positive somewhere from Snow White existing, it's that even general audiences and children are realizing that they're burnt out on them too.
I wanna go to Disney.
Probably. If I do have to be compromising, then I just want to say this. Give movie remakes a break for now. Give it 10 years, give or take, and then, just maybe, Hollywood can remake bad movies and turn them good with a new interpretation. But I'm not holding my breath, so for now, Snow White, you've killed remakes for good. Alright, that's the end of the video, so let me know in the comments below if you want to see more videos like this in the future, and leave a comment below if you've got ideas for future videos of mine for the channel. But until then, peace everyone.